Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Pariprasnena session. As we normally do, we'll offer brief invocation prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale SyamaRupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatchatarine Jaya Sri Nityananda Vaitagradhara Srivadi Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama involved in some way or other. We mentioned that a few days back in terms of reviving a project. So I'd like to read briefly what we will be making available very soon, and that is the mission and vision and mission of the Varnashram College online. So after then we can directly hear Srila Prabhupada book speaking about Varnashrama. The vision is based on this very important statement made by Srila Prabhupada, written actually in one of the purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is 4th canto, chapter 29, text number 54, in the purport where Srila Prabhupada states, there should be a thorough overhauling of the social system, and society should revert to the Vedic principles, that is, the 4 Varnas and the 4 Ashramas. So what follows is the mission. Varnashrama College Online aims at laying the foundation for bringing about a gradual global social transformation through online training and education, based on the ancient scientific principles and concepts of Sanatana Dharma, also known as Varnashrama Dharma. And Prabhupada actually translates Varnashrama Dharma as divine culture. So this Varnashram College Online, for short, VCO, will offer online courses by qualified and certified Vedic teachers, covering the 4 Vedic sciences. There are 4 standard Vedic sciences. We mentioned this not too long ago. We have been making, because it's very fundamental. This is known in our Vedic literatures as Char Vidya, 4 basic sciences that encompass both, and this is very important, the natural, spiritual, and responsibilities. That is called actually in Sanskrit Swadharma, for all human beings. And we actually here some of the supporting objectives of this Varnashrama College Online. One, to help establish an agrarian-based society where the majority of people will live a localized life in villages. Then, to help demonstrate the ideals of sustainable and self-sufficient Vedic communities. Number 3, to help promote small-scale industries and revive or rejuvenate traditional technologies that are eco-friendly and safe to humans, animals, all species of life, and to the environment. Number 4, to help introduce the scientific educational system of Gurukulas and Varnashram colleges as desired by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Number 5, to help reestablish a cow-based culture and a cow-based economy where natural agriculture and holistic cow care form the basis of life. 6, to help promote the practice of Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy names of God, Krishna, and the scientific process of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Krishna. 7, to teach and live the principles of the Vedic culture in keeping with the perennial teachings of the Vedas, with special emphasis on such books as Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Nectar of Devotion, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. 7, to uphold and spread the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as presented by our Vaishnava Acharyas, especially in keeping with the teachings of our ISKCON founder Acharya's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. 8, to publish articles, books, and various literatures to help fulfill the above-mentioned objectives. 9, to help establish and maintain libraries, archives of materials presented at the Varnashram College Online. And number 10, to solicit donations in cash or kind in pursuance of the above stated objectives to support these activities. This we will be making official within a very short time, so that anyone who is actually interested can write to us. We'll be giving corresponding address where you can write, inquire, or volunteer in some way or other. So we'll go immediately to the next section here in speaking about Varnashrama, which is chapter number 9, and a very nice that anyone who's attracted by the ideology of Varnashrama Dharma can relate to, and the title is Chant Hare Krishna and Draw a Plow. Yes. Some of the themes in this section are as follows. Ox power cure. This was also mentioned in some previous reading. When we actually have the majority of people living in a rural, agrarian lifestyle, then the question of unemployment is no longer there. Second theme discussed here, Vedic civilization means let everyone be happy, whereas demonic civilization, let everyone. And the last, practically attract by our living example will attract them. So Srila Prabhupada begins, this is a morning walk, again in Vrindavan, on the 15th of March, 1974. Srila Prabhupada, what these communists can do, we can do better than them. Then it will be counteraction of communist movement. Why are you sitting idly? No unemployment? Come on to the field. Take this plow. Take this bull. Go out working idly. This is Krishna consciousness movement. We should be allowed to sit down. The more there is, as we know, countries that have a high rate of unemployment, and we were mentioning the other day how this whole situation that is taking place all over the world is actually in a very dangerous way increasing and creating a very high level of unemployment. So Srila Prabhupada used to say that an idle mind, or it's a common saying actually, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. When the mind is not engaged, naturally it will think of sense gratification. The mind, the body must be engaged, and one of the main reasons for so much of unrest in so many countries around the world is due to not being engaged, having too many people who are very idle and simply on the mental and bodily platform. Srila Prabhupada continues, they must find out some employment, either work as Brahmana or as a Kshatriya or as a Vaishya. Why there should be unemployment? The same example, just like I am working, the brain is working, belly, there should be unemployment. You must stop employment. You will see the whole world is peaceful. There is no complaint, and they chant Hare Krishna. Nobody is working in. So Prabhupada was walking in Vrindavan, noticing that field, like so many fields, so many places, are empty. They're all cities to work in the factory. Condemned civilization. So like this, Prabhupada continues here. Anad bhavanti bhutani. All living bodies subsist on food grains. Without anna, how can they live? There is no arrangement for anna. They are simply passing resolution, legislative laws, and no anna. The first duty of government is to see that everyone is happy without any anxiety. These preliminary necessities of life, ahar, nidra, bhaya, maitunam, eating, sleeping, defense, arrangement for these preliminary necessities of life. One must eat sumptuously, not overeating. So in this way, in this chapter, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing the need and the importance of living this more simplified, traditional life, which is the basis actually of the Vedic culture. And by having most people properly engaged. Then by working, by being engaged, people will not be on the mental platform, number one. They will also be active. That means they will be healthy. They will be doing things. And in this way, by being properly engaged, they will be their mind will be peaceful, and society will progress nicely. We will now take some of our questions. Again, we want to thank the devotees for taking the time. Questions. A 12th session actually, and we are taking question number 38. Question 38 is actually from one of our devotees here at SSKBK, Chris, Dr. Chris. So, my question is that in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, we are always serving Krishna. We're always in the association of pure devotees. But still, how do we think that I want to be God? I want to be the controller and thus come to the material world. How do we get such thoughts? Yes. A very good question indeed. Quite some years back in our ISKCON society, there was a big debate in relation to this point, actually. And many devotees wrote, the whole question was, how is it, why is it that the living entity comes in this material world, which is related directly to your question here. And one book, I believe, was written, the fall of the jiva, or the original fall of the living entity. Srila Prabhupada explains that actually, and this is the position, because there was such a huge debate actually, that at one point there was a group of devotees who were commissioned to very deeply study this matter, and a paper was produced to that effect. Our understanding, and there are so many quotes given by our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Number one is that Prabhupada explains it somehow or other. It is very difficult for us actually to understand. Somehow or other, we have come here in this material world. That's one thing. Secondly, our acharyas explain the living entity minute independence. And therefore, because we are very small, tiny, Mamai Vangsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, we are the Amsha, part and parcel of Krishna. So, because we have this minute independence, sometimes we may misuse it. And when we do that, we become disqualified to be in the association of Krishna. We become disqualified to be in the spiritual world. Maybe a small example can help understand. Just like people come to our temples, people join our temples. You know, our temples, Prabhupada has taught us to keep them very clean. Our temples have nice deities of the Lord. Our temples are having very nice prasadam. In our temples are all kinds of engagements and facilities. Why is it that some people leave? Isn't it? So nice, why some people leave? Because they have this independence. Although actually our temples, Prabhupada has even referred to our temples as being oases of the spiritual world. They are replicas of what is actually going on in the spiritual world, where everyone in devotional service, everyone is hearing about Krishna in the morning, especially through Bhagavatam class, or during the day amongst devotees. Everyone is meant to be engaged in discussing about the preaching mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the preaching mission of our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. There are so many opportunities, unlimited opportunities actually to engage in devotional service. Still, although this is such an ideal situation, so conducive for practicing Krishna consciousness, we see even people, devotees, who may have stayed in the temple for even many years sometimes, who may be initiated, who may be even sannyasis. This we have seen, isn't it? So therefore, because we are very small, very tiny, if we are even slightly, careless, if we're not properly attentive, then we can deviate. Srila Prabhupada gave the example that spiritual life is very delicate, it's very sensitive. It is, he compared it to a razor's edge. A razor is very sharp, and if we are not attentive when using this razor, we can cut ourselves. So in a similar way, bhakti, pure bhakti, is such a very high state of consciousness, such a high level of devotion and absorption, that if we become neglectful, then we may cause a situation to lose the opportunity of rendering some particular service, or we may be offending. That's why when we practice spiritual life, we need to be especially cautious. The first and most of the 10 offenses is to avoid offending Vaishnavas. That is the greatest offense. And of course, we can understand by this, the greatest of all personalities is Lord Krishna himself. So when we offend Krishna, then we fall in this material world. So that means we should accept the explanations and statements given in our Shastra, knowing our position to be very delicate, and therefore the need to be cautious, and in this way always avoid various kinds of offenses, so that we don't lose this opportunity of devotional service. Here in the material world, we have lost, as a matter of fact, great Acharya, Vaishnava Acharya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains, this offense of all living entities is to have rejected. Very difficult for us to understand, practically inconceivable. As you rightly ask, if we were there with Krishna, if we were there in the spiritual world, engaged in devotion, how in the world Did we do that? Explanation is that by being inattentive and because of this minute independence, that can happen. Someone had asked a few days back, what is the guarantee that we may not come back in the material world? So we explained that actually once having had this experience, once having experienced the hellish condition of this material world, we will never again, once we go back to Goloka Vrindavan, we will never again, because it will be there, our mind, this awful experience, which when we come in the material world, lasts for so thousands and thousands, millions or billions of years. Let us go to the next question. 39. And this that she was asking, this is Induleka Devidasi from Hyderabad. She had two questions. The first one we answered a few days back. So her second question, when humans are getting accustomed with the dangerous modern lifestyle, why they are forgetting their real identity, that they are part of the Prakriti, part of this whole creation. How can they get back and know their identity and realize this? Yes. It is a fact that most of us, all of us, have been born in this modern, what we call modern lifestyle, modern civilization, and therefore we have forgotten two things. What is our real spiritual identity as Krishna, and we have forgotten also what is our more simple and natural way of living that will facilitate the cultivation of our spiritual identity. This is a very important point, that Vedic culture, Vedic civilization is encouraging. I mean, the whole basis of that Vedic culture is centered on this concept that Prabhupada explained to us again and again of simple living and high thinking, which is, again, in a village, rural setting or atmosphere. This will help individuals to be properly situated, both materially and spiritually. So how to again revive these two levels of our, what is called in Sanskrit, our swabhava. Swabhava, also related, or directly related actually. Swabhava has to do with our swadharma. Swabhava means our original mood and mentality, our original relationship. Our original relationship on the spiritual platform with Krishna, and our original relationship on the material platform with material nature, with God's creation, with Krishna's creation, with Mother Nature. And especially a theme which is, of course, so central in our Vedic culture, but which is so absent in modern day civilization. And that's one of the great impediments for us, even as devotees, to actually revive, especially the, we could say, our identity and our responsibility in terms of our material lifestyle. In other words, cows play a very essential, absolutely essential role in helping individuals, including devotees, obviously, in developing this mode of goodness. And that is why, as we have mentioned many times, Vedic culture is arranged in such a way that practically every person every day sees cows, has darshan of cows. Not only he sees cows, but he serves cows. At proximity with cows, he involved sometimes in directly serving the cows, and being around cows is not simply only for those who are Vaishyas. Vaishyas, generally referred to as farmers. Actually, the whole farming ideology, which we refer to in modern day society, is an essential basic theme actually in the Vedic culture. In the Vedic culture, as we have mentioned, as we read in the Shastra, the vast majority of villagers, they live in the village, and the vast majority are connected with farming as well. So therefore, the best way for us to revive these two levels of identity, these two levels of responsibility, is by associating with those who have already awakened to that reality, those who are connected with such activities. And we've mentioned in some few sessions before how many practical ways by which we can again come closer to what keep in mind the we can say ideal. Also mention make Vrindavan. Ideal example is the village of Vrindavan, or any village where people are still God conscious, Krishna conscious, and keeping cows, understanding the value of growing their own food in a natural way, etc. So devotees, individual devotees, about by associating with like-minded devotees, and in this way gradually revive. There are many other ways as well. There are practical steps that one can take when we come in contact with devotees, for example, who may be living. We can visit and we can spend some time there. So to conclude on this, it is very true, the modern day setup not at all conducive for reviving, especially, well, both levels of identity or both levels of consciousness, especially the second, because, as Prabhupada said, why have we created a system where so many people are working in factories, whereas they should be out in the country growing their own food, the cows are there, if they are maintaining them nicely, this combination of land and cows will meet all of our necessities of life. So this remains central in our society. Need to know, meditate all steps, and as we mentioned a little earlier before our session today, Ashram College online, that is one of the objectives, to actually prepare individuals to provide can learn different skills and can learn the basic ideology behind why it is so vital and essential for us to have to revive, as Prabhupada directly mentioned in the very first quote of the vision for this Varnashrama college, that one of the purposes is to bring a complete overhaul within society and to revert, which is very important, to the traditional Vedic system of 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. Anything that is scientific, when we can begin to understand basic components of that science, then it becomes very enlivening. Just like Krishna consciousness for all of us, we know how science, we read explanations from our acharyas. The 6 Goswamis especially have written so wonderfully about this science of Krishna consciousness. And, we have devotees who joined practically when, very soon after Srila Prabhupada established society in New York in 1966. So we have devotees who have understood and have continued to practice Krishna consciousness and are totally, on the ideology, very deep ideology, very scientific system of Krishna consciousness. What we have yet to sufficiently, although it is there in our books, it is there in Srila Prabhupada's lectures, etc., it's a mention of how we should, or how society should be organized, and we as a society have that responsibility to show the way, to show by example. We cannot simply talk about it. That's very cheap. But if one is not able to demonstrate, it won't be effective. It's that simple. So, let us go to the next question. This will be Akinchana Krishna Prabhu. And this a little bit. Let's hear. As Your Holiness had mentioned a few days ago during one of the Pariprasnena Sevaya sessions, that when Srila Prabhupada's disciples came to know the importance of sannyas, they went and requested Srila Prabhupada to give them sannyas. However, Srila Prabhupada mentioned in one that Varna should be determined first and then ashram is given. Could you explain more on this? And there's a quote, Kinchana Krishna Prabhu has given this quote wherein Prabhupada explains this point. And this is from a morning walk in Vrindavan, 1974, March 14th, something we've been reading last few days. First of all, varna and ashram. Then when the varna is perfectly in order, then ashram. Ashram is especially meant for spiritual advancement, is general division. It must be there in the human society, and or if it's not there, there on the animal platform. If varna is not there, then this is a society of animal. The varna is working perfectly, we give them ashram, varnashram, that is later on. So the question is, can we explain more on this point? First is varna and then ashram. Actually, it is easy to understand. Varna, as we know, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, it is based on guna and karma. Some guna karma vibhagashaha. So varna is determined based on quality. Quality means natural inclinations, natural aptitudes that we have. And I just want to mention something that we have shared some time back, but very important to remember. Local brahmanas in the village would take it as one of their major duties and responsibilities. One of the major duties and responsibilities of brahmanas, this was understood, was to actually determine the varna of young boys before a certain age, before they reach the age of 15 specifically. This is nicely explained by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this was common practice before. The varna was determined. Okay, that boy, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that actually traditionally when there was more consistency in terms of, there were families, there were Vaishya families, and there were Shudra families. So, if somebody was born in a Brahmana family, then the first consideration for Brahmanas in that village was to assume that this boy is going to be a Brahmana. That does not mean that automatically he will be a Brahmana. But the assumption was that probability he will be. So therefore when they would determine or actually fix up Brahmana varna of this particular boy, determine the rest of his life. You see, there are two types of, because it keeps things simple. Very different than modern day society. There are basically two types of education. One is called formal education, and the other one is called formal education. Formal education is for those who have more to read and to study Shastra, to memorize, who have a good brain. So formal education traditionally Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. So therefore, these are the two main categories. formal for these three divisions, and then non-formal education, which means apprenticeship, developing skills, usually manual skills, would be for actually the vast majority. That is why we read in the Shastra how actually percentage of the went, it makes up Brahmanas and Kshatriyas especially, it was only young boys in those two categories who would receive a formal education. The rest of society would receive a non-formal education, which doesn't require one to go sit in a classroom for years and years to get a diploma, to get a job, etc. like that. So this is very, very important. Young age. And this can best be done in a more simple, natural environment like in a village. Much difficult to do in an urban or city environment. The whole setup unnatural. So that's part of the problem that even as devotees, and I mean, we have devotees who've been initiated for a number of years and still are having the question, what is my varna? It's like, who am I? So in this kind of artificial created, modern day, it's much more difficult to understand what is our varna, which will then more easily determine our two things, which will determine, first of all, what kind of education, and as we mentioned a few minutes ago, either formal education or non-formal education, and this in turn will also determine my ashram, you see. So there's a straight line between one's varna, one's and ashram. And in many ways, until and unless we as a society reintroduce this Vedic natural lifestyle, village lifestyle, which is based again on economy, cow culture, then we will remain perplexed and confused. And the point is that this may be considered by many as not so, especially when society, it is very essential. It is very much needed, and Srila Prabhupada if he did not consider it important. So therefore we need more devotees to think and meditate and plan also how this can be gradually introduced. We've not been able to do this for so many years. That is a weakness, I would say, on our part. And we are the Acharya of our society, Srila Prabhupada, to take his words and instructions and expectations more, especially in the context of all of the major disruptions taking place when we don't follow prescribed ways of nature and create all kinds of disruptions which bring about all kinds of calamities in the world and make it, therefore, more and more complicated, more and more difficult for people to think about Krishna, to think about God, to practice Krishna consciousness. When we are in a state of crisis, when we don't have when our basic necessities, and this point was being made a little earlier when we read at the beginning of this session, Prabhupada was making the point that it's very important governments in the world, leaders in arrange things in such a way that people are able more easily to meet their basic necessities of life. And once these basic necessities of life, which are in terms of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, once these are in place, then more easily one can practice spiritual life, Krishna consciousness. So we are at the end of our session. Again, a reminder for devotees to join Harinam Kirtan, which is happening every day. This is under the direction of the Ministry for Promoting Harinam, His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj, I believe at 5 to 5:15 every day. And every week on Sunday, the Japathon is there. All of us as devotees should continue to be diligent in what we are doing, taking into consideration, being very aware, conscientious of the critical situation in which we're living, following proper instructions and guidance that are given by various authorities. So once again, thank you all very much. Keep sending our Rasamandal Prabhu any additional questions or clarifications, especially as they relate to the whole concept of Varnasrama. And once again, be on the lookout. Very soon we'll be publishing, giving information on the upcoming Varnashram College online. And please feel free to contact us if you would like to be part of this undertaking. Let's together chant the holy name 3 times to create more auspiciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna.